Welcome to all my mommy friends. In this video, we're talking about pre-writing skills and handwriting with a specific focus on fine motor activities or fine motor skills. Let me begin by saying that in our careers as parents, at some point in time, we have all experienced anxiety with respect to this particular milestone of writing. There is a valid reason to our anxiety, and let's find out why we have this kind of an emotion attached to writing. Well, writing is a complex process and it isn't as simple as it looks. When we begin to write, we need to exert excellent control over the writing equipment or the writing utensil that we use. By writing equipment, I'm referring to a pen, a pencil, a sketch pen, a crayon, or a paintbrush, and so on and so forth. Where does this control come from? So this control primarily comes from the tiny muscles in our hand called as the intrinsic muscles of the hand. These muscles are then helped by a stable wrist. The wrist gets its stability from good control at the elbow and at the shoulder. So as you can see, the entire upper extremity participates in the process of writing. So writing is beyond just creating legible forms on a piece of paper. Good posture is also an asset to handwriting. But beyond all this, the brain, our eyes, our ears, and even our nose, all our senses participate in this process of writing. So let's break this complexity down and let's talk a little bit about all these factors before we actually get into the nitty-gritties of what fine motor activities or what fine motor skills are. Motor planning is the process by way of which the brain communicates with the muscles of our body. In this case, as far as handwriting is concerned, the brain communicates with the muscles of our hand or the upper extremity so that then this process of writing is facilitated. If this communication goes well and it's well planned, writing occurs without any issues. However, if there is a break in this communication, there can be problems for the child. If a child, say for example, is experiencing difficulties in copying something from the chalkboard or the whiteboard, it might be because of a poor posture. It might be that the child is writing and suddenly the writing equipment slips out of his or her hand. This piece of information is very important for parents because we need to know and we need to be empowered that this can be a valid reason behind a child having confidence issues as far as writing is concerned, or when a child has a messy handwriting or a poor handwriting. So the child is not at fault, but this particular aspect needs to be corrected or needs to be sorted or treated. When we take in information through our senses, and this information is well integrated, the process of handwriting becomes smooth and easy. Let's take the example of a classroom setup. Working within the noisy environment of a classroom is all about listening to a teacher talking, the buzzing sounds of sharpeners, a classmate or a friend talking or laughing or sneezing or coughing, the sound of bouncing balls on a playground nearby, the sound of a pitter-patter of raindrops on the window panes, the bright sunshine, maybe breeze flowing in from an open window, and a lot more. So do you see where I'm going with this? It is all about integrating that sensory information. So the child has to collect this information, process it, and at the same time ignore it or drown it out so that he or she can focus on the task at hand of writing clearly and legibly. Although we do this at a very automatic level and we take it for granted, it is important to be aware that one or more of these factors could be behind a child's confidence or attention level when it comes to writing legibly and clearly. The small muscles of the hand, along with the stability of the wrist, allow for the development of various kinds of grips that let the hand manipulate different objects as well as writing utensils or writing equipment. Based on the discussion thus far, it is only prudent to say that fine motor skills are heavily dependent on visual perceptual skills, attention abilities, as well as sensory integration. At this juncture, I would like to direct you to my blog, the link to which I have attached in the description box below, for an age-wise guide to development of writing in children. I'd also like to share an exciting news with you. This particular video is a two-part series. The next part is where I present a discussion that I had with a pediatric physical therapist about writing difficulties that children experience. He talks about a holistic approach to writing, about the mindset a parent must have, as well as he names a few writing difficulties and discusses briefly the treatment to it. Make sure that you watch that video. It's an interesting video, as well as hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. More in my next video. Right now, let's discuss more about some of these grips that I am talking about. Stay tuned. The palmar grip is where the whole palm can be used. Several simple activities can be designed around this type of a grip. In this picture, you can see my little girl exploring her senses and simultaneously exercising her grips. I simply set the stage by placing manipulatives of different textures and balls for her to explore. She grasped, picked up, rolled, slided, and chewed. The activity aimed at sensory motor development and promoting hand-eye coordination and midline activities when she used both hands to control the manipulatives. This is another example of the palmar grip with a sensory component to it. This time around, the challenge is greater due to the medium or sand being used. The pads or pulpy portions of the fingers and the thumb are used in this type of a grasp. In this video, you may notice that she is holding her sand toy primarily using the pads of her fingers. Exposure to sensory tools early on is an important part of a child's development. An object is held between the tip of the finger and the pulpy part or the pad of the thumb. As in this picture, my daughter is holding the paintbrush using a tip-to-pad grip. Painting is a great fine motor activity, and when a parent is not too focused on what the child is painting, it fosters imagination, confidence, and independence. As in this video, my little one was more interested in exploring the sensory aspect of painting and was happy mixing paint and water than actually painting on paper. I simply stayed present with her, describing what she was doing without judging her or prodding her on to paint. After the child's first birthday, a child begins to grasp an object with the whole palm, with the fingers wrapped around the object and the thumb in the opposite direction. Setting up activities isn't always about doing something fancy, and using simple household items can allow for multi-level learning to occur. The digital pronate grasp looks a little like the tripod or pencil holding grip, but it is not a true grip. The child uses the shoulder more for movement and not the wrist or the hand. In this video, my daughter is using the digital pronate grip for the activity. Fine motor activities need not always be about grips, and if the right invitation to play is created, the child willingly participates in the process. This reduces frustration and takes the stress off of the activity. For this particular activity, I had combined modes of transport with pretend play and fine motor skills. This grasp is where the first 3 fingers are used to grip the writing equipment. The pinky finger and the ring finger are not used very much in this process. In this picture, my daughter is tracing some patterns I drew on a vertical chalkboard. A vertical surface helps promote the stability of the wrist. Here she is painting on a horizontal surface, and you may notice the difference in the position of the wrist compared to the previous activity. The dynamic tripod grip is the correct pencil holding grip and is usually when all the fingers participate in the process of writing to create legible and clear handwriting. Fine motor activities are a great way to strengthen the muscles of the hand as well as improve control of the upper extremity. When this is done playfully, many other concepts of early learning can be combined with these activities, and it can be a beautiful blend of learning, fun, and bonding. If you would like to know more about these activity setups and see my daughter doing them, please visit my page, the link to which is in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of this video, and I shall meet you in part 2.